Live from the MC. Welcome back, welcome back, and welcome back. This is Jason Paulino, your host of Casual Supremacy on the Dykeman Podcast. And we're here to just talk about what's relevant in life right now and what's going on in the news and how it pertains to you. I love this format. I love this episode. We're going to be talking about something that's very near and dear to me. I don't know if you know anything about me, but I am a real estate agent, but more than anything like that, before that, I was an author of 3 science fiction novels. So Chosen, Revolt, chosennovels.com. Check it out. This is Casual Supremacy, casualsupremacy.com. My organization, my educational organization. I mean, that's what this show is all about: is educating and really just talking about what's relevant in the world right now, what's big on the news. And I think that we picked something really big today. We're talking about
Jason, what are we talking about today, bro?
What are we talking about today?
What's we talking about?
Now, they used to be called UFOs, but they have been rebranded, and now they are.
What is a UFO?
UAPs. UFO, come on, everyone knows this one, is unidentified flying objects. Okay, it's big in the news right now because obviously what happened with Mexico and the Peruvian mummies that they found, and just a lot of information that all of a sudden has become very public is kind of suspect to a lot of people. It's the UAPs versus the UFOs. UFO has been rebranded to UAPs, was unidentified anomalous phenomena, which is.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Unidentified anomalous phenomena.
Wow.
And if you really think about the 3 words, they're basically all 3 like, we don't know what this is. Unidentified, anomalous, which is just kind of like out of the ordinary, phenomena, which is just like, again, these things that we can't really explain. So
because a flying object could be anything.
It could be an identified flying object.
A baseball could be a flying object.
If you could not identify it, then yes, it could definitely be, and so now the new study. So I actually have right here, NASA actually had to put a report.
You have the NASA report?
I have the NASA report right here.
Talk about, hold on, let applause.
Let's absolutely look at this report. It's crazy that NASA has had to acknowledge it, that we've gotten to this day where, if you're like me, you grew up on like X-Files, Aliens, Predators, War of the Worlds, Signs, you grew up with, ID4, Independence Day, like we've been bombarded with the UFOs our entire lives.
Lost in Space on Netflix.
Honestly, you could go crazy. And even Lost in Space isn't really about aliens as much as it is about like humans being kind of lost. I mean, listen,
humans in outer space.
In outer space, okay, and I get that. And so, as far as science fiction goes, we have been tackling the idea of us not being alone in this universe for a long time. But it's one of those really weird things because it covers, basically, to admit these things or to be more open about them opens up so many more questions. And I think that that's what's really freaking people out, because now you're thinking about, okay, well, there's other worlds, other planets, other people. If you think about God, if you think about life, everything that we've been thought of as humans is very like self-centered.
Did you see the little alien that they found?
Oh, we're going to talk about that. And so that's a big thing. Now, first of all, that's been debunked, and those are.
No, it's not cake. The little alien is not cake.
They made a cake afterwards. They made a cake afterwards, and it's very funny. But no, they did. They made a cake afterwards of the little mummified thing. Listen, Peru's.
Is this the alien or is this cake?
That's a really good question. But it's been debunked. I mean, they're saying that they found things from like 1,000 years ago from Peru. It was a Mexican journalist who loves UFOs, came with the bodies, he came with the evidence. And actually, matter of fact, this is actually the Rutgers story on, and just because I was trying to get some extra, it's basically been debunked. I mean, look at this face right here. I mean, it's one of those things where.
Wow, is that for real?
That's real. That's the actual photo of what they presented in Mexico to the Mexican
that's
government.
Not cake.
It's not cake. No, that was definitely not cake. The 3 fingers, the eyes, these tiny little box things, and so, but it's brought this topic back into the limelight, where all of a sudden it used to be this fringe thing to talk about UFOs, to talk about UAPs now, to talk about alien life. It was so taboo, it was so stigmatized. And one of the first things the national report says is that the reason that they're taking this on is because they know how stigmatized or how like people are like, oh, you're crazy. for a long time when this first started in the 50s and the 60s, people were talking about aliens and the ships. Everything was like historical documents. It wasn't like it was like eyewitness reports. It was historians. It was people who said they were kooks. And I think the biggest invention that has changed our lives in the 21st century is what we're using right now is a video camera, because it used to be a time where you could be like, oh, you were describing things, but now for so long,
Now we have receipts.
now we got receipts. So it's like, listen, what are you going to do? How long are you going to deny that we can't explain what we're looking at? Like, I don't know. And some of the most compelling information, it's the most compelling footage that we've seen from the UAPs and everything else is things taken from like F-16s. People in like American fighter pilots who are like basically like, oh my God, look at that thing fly. It's defying like all kinds of movement. Or as far as like the way that we look at it, to our science, it just
Yeah.
moves faster than anything that we could have looked at. And so they just keep getting more and more footage that they can't explain. And now you could keep denying it. But there was a time again where you'd be like, it's like everything else. Like you didn't believe it until you saw it with your own eyes.
So they
You know,
disclosed the little bodies. What
they
about like the spaceships?
there was no spaceships.
There was no
They're
spaceship.
saying that
How
these
did they get here?
well, the whole thing is that they found the mummies. They're supposed to be over 1,000 years old. And first of all, this has already been debunked. I mean, they did the people who presented this basically said, it's just they want to believe, and I think a lot of people want to believe, but these particular specimens aren't. I mean, it's cool to look at because it's for like 2 days everyone was like, oh my God, the Mexican government like unveil this, and it wasn't like that. It was that a reporter had this. He in 2017 he tried something very similar. I think that people really want to believe. I think it's one of those things where it makes us feel like smaller. It makes us feel like with everything that's going on in this world right now, I think everyone wants to believe that there's another option or there's another place to go,
Do
or
you believe we're alone?
absolutely not. I think that it's absolutely insane to think if you really understand the size of the universe and you think about each star that we're looking at is another sun, probably has another like 20 planets on it. I mean, you looked up at the sky, it is just absolutely madness to me, to be honest, to think that there is no one else out there. The only issue with humanity is that when we think of people exploring, right? Let's say whoever
Like
these organizations,
intelligent life.
if it's intelligent life, we think of them as a threat because throughout human history, whenever we explored, we
Conquered.
we destroyed. Like, yeah, I always joke about this
Not
Columbus thing.
necessarily destroyed,
I
but
mean,
definitely
we took
conquered.
from the Vikings to humans. Humans didn't go on these ships on these huge voyages with good intentions. Christopher Columbus didn't spend a month in the sea and his crew about to kill him with good intentions. And people always talk about these things. It's like our entire history is people going somewhere else and conquering someone else. So when we think of aliens and when we think of outer space, we're thinking about like someone coming to bomb us, when the chances are, if there are aliens, they're probably explorers. They're probably taking a look at seeing what's going on. And they probably took a huge voyage. And if you really think about it, right, because especially if you watch a lot of these encounters, close encounters here on Earth with these ships, we've taken some shots at them. We've thrown like rockets at them. We've thrown all
Oh,
kinds of things. I mean,
be ready for the
we
smoke,
have
man.
gone in there. No, we've sent fighter pilots after them. We have tried and there's never been where they've attacked us. You know what I'm saying? There's never been any retaliation. So whatever it is, they're either just kind of playing with us, where it's like maybe,
They're just
you know,
taking a look, man.
I feel like they're playing with a,
Taking a look. What's down there?
or they're playing with a puppy. It's like something where it's like, oh, look how cute. They think
These
that they
little
can keep up with
guys.
us. Look at these little guys. They think, what I'm saying? Think about it. They came from like another galaxy, from another, like they're so far advanced to us that we are literally like these little children who are like snapping at them and they're like, like stop screwing around.
But maybe they're not.
Maybe, but we assume that the
Look at that
resources.
little ass alien, bro. That little alien mouse.
I'm just saying that was like a thousand. Listen, that they're saying that's from 1,000. The
I mean,
reports are
humans didn't
crazy.
get any smaller.
It didn't get any small. I don't think. They're saying that the DNA isn't human. And a lot of that has been debunked. And I mean, honestly, you could Google it. It's one of those things where this particular instance, but listen, this was the first time the Americans did it too similarly. They had a conversation where they brought people in, and before Congress admitted that we have aliens heading away, we have bodies, we have ships, no one's alive. And again, it's just like, but we assume everything that comes our way is malicious and that they're trying to hurt us and they're trying to take our resources because that's what we do. You know what I'm saying? If we could get on ships, if we could get on ships and go, listen, man, if we found gold or something else on another planet and we could get there, we would we would definitely go over there and go grab our stuff because that's the way we think, But I don't know if you can apply that to every other group of, what I'm saying? It's just a very human, and again, a lot of what we've learned about this intelligence was that we always just assume that it's going to be hostile, and we've really been trained. And honestly, that's a lot of what I want to talk about right now. It's just, do you think that if these creatures came from another galaxy, came from light years away, are they coming here to destroy? Are they coming here to help? Or are they here just as observers of what's going on? Because these people could be kind of like our, like a SpaceX. These could be like, the billionaires. I saw that on a joke of another planet. These are like those guys who can afford to kind of. You think about it. Who else could afford it to have the resources to come over here and what it means for our civilization? But we have been trained that if we ever encountered alien life, it's going to be hostile. I mean, that's been programmed into us from we were very young, if you really think about it. And if you really think about, everything that's going on right now and the UAPs and acknowledging, you have to think about, the United States. And you also think about, the amount of money we spend on the military. Last year we spent $877 billion on military defense, right? So people are thinking to themselves, well, all of a sudden, this started coming out, all this alien news, and people are like, oh, this is a distraction. It makes sense because it's like, listen, don't look over here. Now, look, be afraid of aliens. Now, be afraid of, hey, we have to spend more money on defense. We need more rockets. We need more ships. We need to protect ourselves because now we're dealing with these creatures coming from across in universe over here, and we need to protect ourselves, by any means necessary, and it's a very human response. What I'm saying is that we need to question ourselves on what this means for us in the future and what this means for us, like philosophically. Like, again, we think about like our lives. I grew up in this neighborhood, all QM, we're all QM kids, we're all Catholic school kids. This like rattles like all the stories we've ever been told about humanity and life. And I think that's what's really freaking people out. It's like this makes you question like the very root of our existence. Like, okay, is there something else going on out here? Who created us? Why are it's like it just keeps opening up things. And the reason I bring this up, particularly for this podcast, is because you're seeing how it's affecting not just our daily lives, but if you look at it as a distraction, if you look at it as something's people trying to kind of manipulate your mind and your thoughts, and this is something to be considered. And I think if you look at it as a military way, it's definitely something that we should be concerned about because we have been trained to think of everything coming at us as a threat. And maybe you're right. Maybe that's the best way to look at it, to be honest. There's another train of thought, think, hey, maybe we should just look at this as like, maybe this is just kind of an opening thing, kind of a reconnaissance mission where you kind of come in, take a look at the enemy. That's kind of like a very military thing to do, to come, take a look, kind of probe.
How do we kill them?
That's always what we're trying to figure out. But at the same time, I think that like they have the capabilities to bring an entire world of weaponry or an entire world or even that they need anything from us. We always assume as humans we're on earth, we all need the same things, we all need the same resources. But what if they don't need air? What if they don't need water? What if they don't eat what we eat? Then it has like they're not really like looking at our resources, they're just kind of looking at us. What are these? It's like an observation thing. It's a scientific thing. It's a like, are they looking at me or do they need the air that I have here? Do they need the water? We always, that's another big kind of
Maybe they just come and pick up 2, 3 humans every now and then. It's like
and probe them and drop them back in. I mean, it could be, but you know what? They dropped them back in, and I'm gonna tell you something. If humans were doing the opposite, we wouldn't bring them back.
I don't think they took them and brought them back in.
Maybe. Well, some people say that they did. Some people just say that they just disappeared. It's tough. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there are people who've definitely said that they've been probed by aliens and all kinds of weird things. And I'm like, listen, that could be what is going on. But just you have to think about what the larger scheme of these stories, why they're coming out, and what it means for us. For me personally, I'm not afraid of, like aliens versus predators. I'm afraid of like predator drones, like I'm afraid of like,
Predator
drones,
drones.
like those
Oh,
do those are the real ones that we should those are the real things that we should deal with in humanity,
precisely. I think that if aliens are that advanced, then most likely they have nukes.
But why haven't they even tried? My point is the first thing we did when we got nukes was we dropped two of them, right? If you got nukes, my point is that this has been going on since like the 1950s and 1960s, 40s. I don't even know what, all these alien encounters, they've never attacked once. You know what I'm saying? There's never been, I don't know, like an actual fiery attack. Maybe they're stealing. I don't know what to tell you, but I'll say that we have no evidence to say that they're here to hurt us. But there is definitely something to be said
But
about.
now we have the evidence to say they're here.
I don't know if it's evidence. I mean, I'd still people would consider this
Would it be valid
speculation.
to say that they're
I
here?
think that people are more open to saying that something is here. I'm not. I think that it's crazy to think that there isn't other life on this universe, whether or not it could reach from another galaxy to
Yeah,
our.
because I believe that's the whole thing with us that we're here, but we
But
can't
yeah,
exactly reach anybody else
exactly,
outside of our solar system.
and I am sure that there are plenty, and
Even though
maybe
I did hear about like three new planets, and one of them was very similar to Earth.
could the creatures on that planet make it to our planet, or could we make it to them? We love.
Are there even creatures there? And if they're creatures, are they even intelligent? Because you can have a whole bunch of animals and these aliens just be stupid as fuck.
it,
They don't know what
it,
the fuck
it,
they're doing.
it, it could be going they could be going
That
through
could be
their
a
dinosaur they
case.
could be going through their dinosaur phase, or we don't know, again, because again, this is a deeper philosophical look at life and what the universe creates, and
I need my tin
things.
hat for this
No,
one.
but it's not. But here's the thing. Again, before you should think of it as a tin hat thing. It was something very much in the fringe, talking about aliens, talking about close encounters, talking about these things. It was only reserved for television and kooks and science fiction nerds and things like that. But
Sci-fi.
now, sci-fi, right? But now it's starting to get
Is
much
this
more and more
sci-fi
money.
though?
Yeah, is it exactly? Well, everything starts off as science fiction and then it becomes science reality. It's one of those things where, think about it, we grew up on like Star Trek, and they had the pads and technology and everything. Think about it. Now everything are these digital pads. I remember the spaceship that the people they created some like became the basis for our technology. First you see it, then it comes to life. And so, yeah, I just think it's very interesting to look at what is going on, and what it means for us, and also to recognize the kind of manipulation that it brings to our minds, and especially in a world where we have so many things to worry about. And you're right, things that we have to worry about that are right here on earth. Like if you ever watch like those old, like those zombie movies, or like those all the other kind of movies, it's never like they're like, yes, fear the zombies, but like the worst things are the surviving humans, because those are always what you have to fear more than even the peril. Is like, we know that once civilization is gone, we are animals, and we are vicious, and we are mean, and we are like
By
just
nature.
fearful by nature. And it is what it is. You have to
And
admit that,
time again,
time and time again
we do
proven.
the same thing.
Same thing. So we assume that everything else in the universe has our set of logic, has our same kind of animal instincts, because we are like, we're gorillas.
We're
We're like we're
humans, but
gorillas.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we're
got
not too far.
instincts.
We're not too far removed from gorillas, and I think people have to understand that, is that what's going on in the world right now. You have to consider what's going on with the UAPs, just the consciousness, the opening of it. And I think that you just can't keep hiding from video evidence. You got to say something. If you're a scientist, if you're at NASA, or you've been studying aliens maybe the last 50, 60 years, you're some, at this point, you have no answers for anyone. So why not open up the conversation to everyone else? What do you think this is? Who do you think this is? Maybe someone says something, maybe they don't. But at the same time, you can keep suppressing this video, but with the internet, there's just so many things out there. They just can't control the speed of anymore. This is not 1950s, not 1960s. You can't just threaten some reporter, some newspaper, and like, oh, don't run this story. It's like once it hits the internet, it's a flying saucer. It's gone. So why keep hiding it? So I understand why they're like releasing this information. I find it very interesting, and I think that it's something that again, as we get older, we're gonna be dealing more and more with, because again, the earth right now in itself is going through like some weird times. And we have to admit that like we're going, and then sometimes we like looking out because we're afraid of what's going on. I mean, if you think about like all the billionaires in our in our world right now, what do they want to do? They want to get the hell out of here. Between SpaceX and Virgin Mobile and Blue, whatever it is, they're taking their money and they're like, hey, you know what, man, we need to get out of here, we need to figure something else out. That's the next level. But if you really understand space and space exploration and NASA and all that stuff, like that's not happening in our lifetime. We're not built for that. We're not like it'll take like generations and generations for our bodies to be able to deal with like living in space for a prolonged time, like without gravity, our bones. Like people don't really get that. Everyone always thinks
Yeah, it's over
it's
without
like we
gravity.
don't
You
have
wouldn't even be able to walk.
we've had like people have not really thought this out. This whole like, oh, we'll just go to Mars, or we'll just go to like we'll just go to another planet. It's like you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea that your body is just you're built for this place. Everyone's looking like, look, stay home. You better figure out something. You better clean this place up. You better do something to take care of yourselves, because you like if you think you're finding another option, you're gonna go get on a spaceship, and it's like this. It really is science fiction. It's just like, dude, like that's just not happening. We're not built for that. Like maybe a few hundred years from now, 1,000 years from now, but long after anyone listening to this right now, or I mean, unless it keeps going, anyone alive right now while I'm saying this, we're not getting there. We're not, it's not happening while we're alive. Like maybe our great, 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 great grandkids eventually will be able to adapt to what like true space exploration is. And I think we might be able to learn, I think, from alien life, and maybe instead of us chasing around and trying to bomb it, because again, we deal with it the only way we know how to. Instead of scientists, we all we have is a military. United States, man. We're not sending no scientists look after any aliens. We're sending B-52.
Sending
We're,
Rocky.
we're sending the bombers. We're sending the drones. We're sending the nukes. Think about it. If you think about how many of all of our movies,
Call it a drone.
call the drones, call the robots, call the Terminators. The best case scenario that we have is that the aliens start fighting each other like Alien and Predator. Like we don't have any other options. Like all we can hope is that these aliens come here and like they kill each other first, and then they come and figure out who they want to kill, who's gonna get to kill us. But these things are important to understand how we're being manipulated and how we're looking at, and maybe that we have to look at how.
In this scenario, let's say a spaceship does come and it attacks China. For the sake of the argument, attacks China. Do you think the rest of the world would get involved?
100%. Here's the one thing I will say. The only reason I would be pro alien attack is this. It'd be the only one way that humanity comes together. And I've thought about this:
Common enemy.
common outside enemy. The only thing that would bring us some sort of. Exactly. We are going to fight because this is our planet. These are our resources. The only thing that would bring all of humanity against is to find an enemy outside of this planet who wants our resources. And that's the narrative that we've been talking about over and over and over again, because that's the only way we think about someone's trying to take what's ours. That's just so human. And if it attack, because think about it, if they attack China, how long before they attack everyone else? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
they're not coming just for
That's how you
China.
rationalize.
That's exactly like this isn't. It would change everything. To be honest, in a weird way, even my novels Chosen. That's what it's about. It's basically an alien invasion, and then afterwards, everyone straps together, and everyone's like, "Yo, we all we got." That's
Don't
all.
give them the sauce, Jay. Don't
Oh
give them
no,
the
it's all
sauce.
good. No,
Chosen.
no,
Go
no.
go follow Chosen.
ChosenNovels.com. It was the first two Chosen Revolt. And so yeah, no, we have to keep in mind all these stories and think about how they affect our lives and just keep it moving, man. How you feeling over there? What's
Oh,
going
I'm
on?
good, man. I'm chilling here, just listening to about all these aliens has been a topic of conversation lately, and it's also been trending.
It's
Um,
everywhere. It's
yeah,
everywhere. And it's one of those things where if we don't actually acknowledge these things, and it's been so long where everyone who talks about them is absolutely crazy, and we forget how important certain events are. And we're recording this today is the 18th, September 18th, right? A couple of days ago or a couple of weeks ago, it was 9/11, right? If you think about events that change a lifetime, like an alien existence, that'd be like the next, like, even if they drop like it would be like a next 9/11. It would be something that would change our world policy for like a lifetime, for a generation. Like, how 9/11 changed our policies on war and everything else for like literally the next like 20 years. Like, think about what an alien attack would mean,
it would change
or it
everything.
would change everything. We would, it really would be when we were actually confronted with it, and where again humanity found something worse than even themselves. Which is the truth of it, is like, like, we're gonna have to figure
It's
some.
funny, man, but like you said, it would change everything, and I think it would unite us for the better.
It would unite us for the better unless these aliens really came for that smoke, and then we'd be in a lot of trouble. So it's one of
And
those
then maybe
things
we
that,
get this.
and then we get to smoke and see what's going on. But honestly, I don't know what's going on this planet. Again, we love the idea of looking out. And I think that, especially right now, that's why it's important to talk about those distractions, because there's so many awful and dangerous things happening right now, right here, that it's funny that
Right here, right now.
oh no, I mean, climate change. Look at what's going on in Libya right now. Look at around, like, there's, I think it was like 11,000 something, that the flooding there just recently. You're looking all around the world, the fires, mostly flooding. I mean, that's a big, thing that's happening here and just throughout all of Earth. I mean, to be honest, look what happened in Maui, fires. It's like Captain Planet. It's like Earth, wind, water, hurt. It's like we are fire. Like we're under attack by all of like
Happening. It's
all of
happening.
all of the Captain Planet dudes have turned on us. Okay, the wind, the water, like no heart over here. And everyone just gotta survive you know but yeah, we're in a dire situation, and I find it interesting that they're trying to turn the attention outwards. And I think that my best advice, or what I really think that people should, is really look at what's, if you do think it's a distraction, what is it distracting you from? And what's distracting you from is what's going on right here, right now. We could spend all these days. I love this 36-page NASA report, but to be honest, it didn't really say anything.
I feel like that is distracting us from Ukraine.
from, dude, from endless, endless. And I mean,
What are we doing over there?
well, Ukraine is a proxy war, and that's a whole different thing. And I mean, it's just what's going on. Like, our United States fight with Russia is a fight that's been going on since before anyone here probably was born. Well, definitely anyone listening here was born. And it's something that, and these proxy wars, NATO, we love giving away weapons. We love, United States has interfered and done this proxy thing for a long time. They did it through all South America. We talked about this the last time. They invaded DR, but more than anything, they what they do is that they don't send their own troops, but they train. They'll send a group of American, because we're great at war. We'll send them to Chile. We'll send them to Nicaragua. We'll send them all around the world, just to train these groups of people for war, and they basically fight these wars for us, and and then that's part of the game. And yeah, and that's I think that
Private
is.
contractors.
Oh, I mean, if you think about everything, we love making everything private. Basically, NASA doesn't do anything anymore. Guess what? Now, who does our space exploration? SpaceX. We pay someone else, Raytheon. We pay, we Blackwater. You're talking about we privatized everything because we believe that everything is better private. We don't believe in it's like, oh no, government, we rather give it to, and plus you don't have to regulate these private entities as well as when it's a government. You know what I'm saying? Blackwater doesn't have to be regulated as far as much as the US Army or the military. They don't have to answer to it. SpaceX doesn't have to answer to Congress. NASA did have to, so it's definitely become this thing where but America's all about privatizing everything, and that is part of our culture. That is part of our like
It's power. It's power
it's
in
a
that.
yeah, it's part of our rhetoric of like, oh, okay, well, we're just gonna make it private, and that's gonna be make it way better. And
Exactly. The
but
senator said to send them what?
to send them what to send, and so
You want to take a look at what?
and
The whole Facebook thing.
well, listen, I mean, if you look at everything that's going on, our gains are in capitalism, particular gains or profits are private, but the losses are public. Something bad happens, everyone suffers. But when good things happen, only the people who were smart enough to get theirs got theirs. And I mean that's just what is going on in this world. And you're right. And I think that there's something that's distracting about all of this stuff and all of these ideas and aliens and be afraid of ET and X Files, and it's the list goes on and on and on for sure.
That reminded me of that. There's a movie they're promoting right now. They're talking about the whole GameStop.
Oh yeah, yeah, Fun Money or something Money. Yeah, yeah. I think it's on Netflix. Paul, yes, and so
It's on Netflix.
no, it
No,
might not be on Netflix, but it's. I mean, it'll eventually be on there. It's called Stupid Money or something like that. It's Seth Rogen and Paul the Bono the guy who played who's in the last Batman movie. What's his name? I think it's Paul. He played Bane in the last. Not Bane. The Riddler in the last Batman with
Jim
the
Carrey.
bat. No, 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 no. The Batman. What's his name? What's the
The
last
kid from
Batman?
Twilight.
Yeah, exactly.
The worst Batman.
That
On
movies.
record.
It's a 3 hour movie. Actually,
It
it's
was
actually a
the
decent movie.
word. It was the worst Batman for me.
Really? Okay, I didn't really believe that. That's fair enough. I
Definitely
mean,
not putting it over the Dark Knight.
no, I mean, listen, we grew up. We're Dark Knight guys forever, but he doesn't do a terrible job, and that's actually an
Even,
interesting.
even bro, if I see a new movie, a new Batman movie that I like, I wouldn't like hold it against this current Batman.
They've done a lot of, they've done a lot of the Jokers. They've done a lot of different things, but yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the new way we do everything. We turn everything into a movie and turn everything into like a Netflix special, or it's just we like to dramatize everything that's going on. But what's really dramatic is really what's going on in this world right now. This weekend in New York, there were huge protests for climate change. If you look at about what's going on, again, I talk about the floodings and the fires and the hurricanes, and they're getting progressively much worse. And I don't know. I think it's going to be looked at differently in a generation from now because we really did just keep burning fossil fuels. And I mean, my point is again, a lot of this stuff was set up by people who are no longer here, way before we were born, but we don't know any other way of existing. So we're like stuck in this trap where, have you ever heard the parable of like well, it's not really a parable, but about like a frogs or boiling frogs? I don't know if this seems kind of weird.
Boiling frogs. I heard something amongst those lines
Yeah,
that if you put him in really hot water, like they'll jump out,
yeah.
but if you gradually heat up the water, they'll stay.
They'll stay and they'll cook themselves alive. Exactly. Like if you throw a frog into a boiling pot of water, it'll jump right out. But if you put the frog in the pot of cold water and you just slowly heat it up, it won't know what's going on. It just looks like, oh, it's warming. Oh, it's like a sauna. Oh, and then it's dead, And I think that we're in that situation right now where we've just kind of denied what's going on for so long. And the problem with humanity is that unfortunately, this is the reason that sucks having all these like 80-year-old politicians, right? It's just you get to this point where you can't really imagine too much farther in the future because like we're only concerned about our immediate comforts. We don't really, care about what's going to happen here 200 years from now. Do you care what's happening 300 years from now? Do you care that you leave a habitable planet? Or maybe not. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, because you won't be here. That's the truth of it. It's the sadness of it. And so sometimes you see what's going on. It's just like
Years from now,
none of us, right? Maybe the youngest ones or whatever it is. I don't know. Perhaps. Hey, who knows? With modern medicine, we don't know what's going on. This is what's going on. We might figure something else out.
Transfer consciousness.
Yes, all that stuff. We have AI now. We got all kinds of crazy stuff. We got the deep fakes. I'm just saying that we are in a world of that our parents could not have imagined. And so it's like, okay, well, we have to be able to adapt. And, when we were kids, we were just so much more like open to things. And as you get older, as you become an adult, you become much more closed off. And it's like, oh no, this is just how things are. But things are changing, in the world and what's being captured and and we have to keep those things in mind. But yeah, and so listen, I want to thank everyone for just sitting here and talking to us about, the UAPs. You should look those up. The UFOs. These are important things. And again, what's important about these things to understand is why this information is all of a sudden out and what implications it means for our future. What does this mean for our lives? Where is this trying to steer us? Because we know it's not happening by accident. Right? There's something that's obviously there's an agenda that's going on. Yeah, we're getting kind of these little snippets of information, these little like little popcorn trail. But we're not really giving us anything. What this technology means. Actually, seeing any real aliens. It's just all this kind of like smoke and mirrors reports from NASA. Journalists from but it's something. But I think it points to something larger. I think that that's what everyone here and everyone listening to this podcast. And thank you so much for taking the time out to hear us out. To keep in mind that there is definitely something to keep an open understanding about what's going on in this world, and what certain information means to all of us. And so, yeah, man, I appreciate you sitting down with me and let me rap about the alien life, outside of this. I'm not talking about illegal aliens. I'm not talking about building a wall. I'm talking about like, unidentified anomalous phenomena. The NASA report. You can download this PDF. Just Google it. It's right there. It's 36. Fascinating read. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not much like information. They got a lot of pretty pictures in there. And then, yeah, a lot of eyewitness reports, and again, a lot of things that they can no longer deny. A lot too much video, um, receipts. So here's to keeping more receipts with the Dykeman podcast. Cheers to you, brother man.
Here's to keeping the supremacy casual.
Keeping supremacy. That's the only way the supremacy works. Okay, that is how they rule your life, very casually. So keep it casual, my friends.
Live from the MC.